Hello there, I'm in Berlin for 2 days and I want to see and do a lot. What's on my list? Well, the TV Tower, Museum Island, Checkpoint Charlie, a boat trip and much more. That is going to be expensive, so how can I save money? Apparently this is possible with the so-called Berlin Welcome Card, a city pass with discounts. I want to find out if it's really worth it.
The Welcome Card is available wherever there are tourists. In many hotels, at the airport and in the tourist information offices throughout the city. But of course you can also book it online. I go to the tourist information at the Brandenburg Gate. There are different tickets depending on how long you are in Berlin and how much you want to see.
There's the simple version of the Berlin Welcome Card, which costs 25 euros for 48 hours. It's got discounts for 180 attractions, mostly 25%, and you can use public transport for free. And there is also the Welcome Card all-inclusive, which is not that cheap. 89 euros for 48 hours, and it offers the same discounts as the simple version. But in addition, entry to 30 attractions is free. So I think it's worth it for me because, you know, I have a lot on my list.
So I buy the expensive ticket, all-inclusive. I get that printed out with a QR code. With it, I can also download the Welcome Card to my smartphone. In addition, there is a guide with all discounts, many tips and a city map. First, I want to take a hop-on, hop-off bus. There are different providers. With my all-inclusive card, I can use the pink-yellow buses of the Circle line for free. Normally, a ticket costs 33 euros, or if you book it online, 26 euros. Either way, I've already saved money. The first thing I do is a tour of the government district. This kind of bus tour is always good for a first impression of a foreign city.
This is the most touristy thing to do, and I love it.
There are 20 stops. You can get on and off as often as you like. Here at Potsdamer Platz, for example. I make a stop at Checkpoint Charlie.
Checkpoint Charlie used to be the most famous border crossing between East and West Berlin. It's a very popular spot.
In 1961, after the construction of the Berlin Wall, Soviet and American tanks stood directly opposite each other at Checkpoint Charlie. The photo went around the world and made the place famous. You can learn more about it at the Wall Museum, where you get a 25% discount with a Welcome Card. But I'm going to the Wall Panorama across the street. The entrance fee is 11 euros. For me, it's free. On display is a huge panoramic image by artist Yadigar Azizi. It shows everyday life at the Berlin Wall. It's incredible how real everything looks. I'm standing in the west and looking across the Death Strip to East Berlin.
In '87, when I was born, this was the reality. I'm so happy that it's over now.
You get a very emotional impression of how life was in divided Berlin. I get back on the hop-on, hop-off bus. It takes me back to the Brandenburg Gate. It goes past Alexanderplatz with the TV Tower, and then along the Unter den Linden Boulevard, past the Humboldt Forum, and the State Opera. By the way, for many theater tickets, there's also a 25% discount. Maybe that's an idea for the evening. Now I'm hungry. At the snack chain Currywolf, I get a discount with my welcome card. Currywurst is a real Berlin specialty. But I prefer the vegan balls. It's 5,50, but I save 135 euros after all.
Ciao. Tastes really good. And it tastes even better because I know that I had a 25% discount.
Admission to Madame Tussauds costs 29 euros on site or 25 euros online. For me, however, the entrance is free. Let's see if you recognize all the celebrities.
Look at the beard and the skin. It's unbelievable. Those $1 million hands belong to Ed Sheeran. Thank you for the music.
That was my first time here. Really impressive. And you're allowed to touch the wax figures.
That's enough for the first day. I don't go to the theater. The weather is just too nice. I'm looking for a green spot opposite the cathedral at the River Spree. I only went to 3 of 30 free attractions, but I've already saved 73 euros. My new day starts at Alexanderplatz, at the TV tower.
Germany's tallest building. Let's check it out.
It is 365 meters high. The entrance fee is 25 euros, but for me, you guessed it, it's free. The elevator takes only 40 seconds, and you can look up into the elevator shaft. On the observation floor, you are 220 meters above Berlin. The view is phenomenal. The big city, very small. You can experience it not only up here, but also below, at the foot of the TV tower, in the adventure world Little Big City. Here I save 18 euros entrance fee. You can expect to travel through time and the history of Berlin. Here, for example, we are in the age of industrialization. The many details are impressive.
That's Germany's first female taxi driver from 1929.
We are in the golden 20s, in an amusement park. And I can watch the ladies put on their show at the Wintergarten Varieté. 1933, the turn of the times. The Nazis come to power. 12 years later, the world is in ruins.
That's the area around Brandenburg Gate in 1945.
The post-war decades. And the construction of the wall. Do you recognize the place? And finally, as a visitor, you could tear down the wall.
I've been looking for freedom.
To get to my next destination, I take the subway.
I can use public transport for free.
I get off at the station Museumsinsel, Museum Island. There are 5 museums waiting for me, and just looking at them from the outside is fun. For example, the Old National Gallery or the Bode Museum. You can also take a little break. All this costs nothing, but the entrance to the museums does.
That's Museum Island with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 museums. And I'm gonna check out this one.
That's the Old Museum, built by Karl Friedrich Schinkel. He was the star architect of Berlin 200 years ago. The construction of the rotunda was inspired by the Pantheon in Rome and is also dedicated to the ancient gods. By the way, with the normal welcome card for 25 euros, there is no discount for the Museum Island. But with my all-inclusive card, I have free admission to all 5 museums. Here in the Old Museum, I have saved 10 euros. Last but not least, I want to do a boat trip. Here too there are several options to choose from. I can take the Stern- und Kreisschifffahrt for free. Normally the ticket costs 20 euros. You notice, I deliberately chose the more costly attractions. Especially then it makes sense to buy the expensive welcome card all-inclusive. A boat tour like this on the River Spree is pretty relaxing. You experience Berlin and its sights once again from a whole new perspective. Time for a conclusion. If you just want to stroll through Berlin and plan only 1 or 2 visits, then the welcome card is certainly not for you. But I paid 89 euros and visited 7 attractions for it. They would have normally cost about 140 euros, so I effectively saved 50 euros. It's worth calculating the whole thing before starting your trip.
You can visit many sites in Berlin for free, at least from the outside. But if you want to get into the attractions, the TV tower, the museums, and so on, you can save some serious cash with the Berlin welcome card all-inclusive. The more you have planned, the more likely the card will pay for itself.